coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Woo! Here we are once again, riding on in. It's the Outlaw Posse now in effect. I ain't done one of these in a little bit. Took a few days off as the season gets in full swing. Things are getting heated. I started to add a little political twist to this show at the end today about Peanut the Squirrel. I don't know if y'all heard that story, but I decided not to. Didn't want to intermix my sports with politics because I didn't want to piss too many people off. Because now people get aggravated and they'll unsubscribe to your channel, even though all they got to do is either not listen or scroll on by it if they don't want to hear any kind of political views. But we're going to talk about the college football playoffs today, as well as touch on a few people that may now be completely on the hot seat. Maybe some not quite as far on the hot seat, but we shall talk about it nonetheless. We got a few people already up in here. Michael McCullough was the first one in today. He was the early bird of the day. It goes to Michael McCullough. I'll start having an award for that. The early bird award. First one goes to Michael McCullough. All right, we got Larry Trawick. He's already in the house as well. I'm embarrassed for the Cornhuskers loss to UCLA. Yeah, that was somewhat of an embarrassing loss. UCLA is not a very good team this year. UCLA is not the UCLA that's usually a decent team that at least goes 8-4, 9-3. UCLA is now, 3-5? I really hated that for Nebraska too, Larry, because I really do like the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So let's, like I said, I got a few other nuggets too I'm going to bring up. I got a viral video where the Jacksonville police officers are basically beating this older gentleman down, numerous blows to the back of the head. Now, we don't know what the whole riff was about, but just from looking at it, it looks like maybe they took it a little too far. But because of certain attributes about this, the fake outragers out there are probably not going to make it a big deal. Also, we have, like I said, the coach's hot seat. It looks like not many people thought that maybe Lincoln Riley would lose his job before Brent Venables when he left Oklahoma. But that absolutely might be what happens. Nobody else said that out there, did they? Anybody else predict that? Nobody saw that coming, did they? I think there was a person that saw that coming. Or persons. Me. And the Outlaw Posse. We tried to tell y'all, man. Yeah, I know y'all didn't want to hear the Oklahoma people talk about it, but I'm an Alabama fan. And then there's Oregon fans out there saying it as well. Yeah, I know Oregon has a disdain for USC and the Skittle Shitters. But I try to tell them jackasses out there. USC, J is for jackass, one of their little podcasters out there. They losing their noodles and losing their bowels, wetting their diapers left and right. Generally being the rope suckers that they are. They can't believe it. They're like, nobody could have predicted this. What, y'all in the sauce, says USC, J. In the sauce, baby. Let's get up in here in the sauce. Y'all in the sauce, all right. Big old dookie-doo sauce, man. And took a crap right down your leg out there in Los Angeles. We'll also talk about the Oregon Ducks, who I feel like is not getting any respect. They're number one in the nation, yet all these shows are talking about other crap. Matt Berry's little fine points and Paul Feinbaum, like, where's the Oregon Ducks at? Why ain't y'all talking about them, man? I know you're an Arizona State guy, Matt. And I know that Oregon emasculated the hell out of the Sun Devils numerous times in the Pac-12. But y'all ain't going to talk about the number one team? It's just the Oregon Ducks, right? Come on, man. I'll give Oregon a little more love. They have actually held on to the number one ranking for a few weeks now, which is something that it's not happened very often this year, right? Speaking of Duck fans, we got one in here already. The only right-wing Duck fans in the house. That is okay. We don't need the attention. Just won a national championship. That's right. And this could be the year that Oregon finally gets over that hump. with Dylan Gabriel leading the way. It's got to sting a little bit for the Oklahoma people out there who a lot of Oklahoma people told me this, and I didn't come up with this on my own. This is coming from Oklahoma people that Dylan Gabriel was basically shown the front door and asked to leave. Basically, they wanted to start Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold and his father had maybe hinted around or just came out and said that if Dylan Gabriel was the starter this season, that Jackson Arnold and his daddy would depart Norman, Oklahoma, and enter the transfer portal. Now, granted, Dylan Gabriel didn't look like the player he looks like now. But still, I don't think, if that is true, I don't think that's a good thing for Brent Venables and the Oklahoma administration to allow one player to dictate who gets to go and who gets to stay on the roster at Oklahoma. Just my opinion. Wait for a few more people to get up here in the house and partake in our little live festivities tonight. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a video that I think some of y'all might like to see. This one is the one with, see what we got here. Here it is, the viral video of Jacksonville sheriff's officers punching an older gentleman, a fan of the Florida Gators. See if y'all can see that. Yep, got that up. Here we go. Y'all ready for it? Here it comes, your way and your way only.
On the 10 o'clock news, this video posted on X during the Georgia-Florida game is garnering lots of attention after showing JSO officers punching spectators inside Everbank Stadium. The video was posted by media company Barstool Sports right before the game ended this evening.
Now, from the video, you can see it happen while Everbank Stadium was packed with tens of thousands of fans. News4Jax reporter Alicia Hatcher joins us live at the stadium after speaking with an attorney. Alicia.
Janice, Everbank Stadium, you can see behind me, is quiet now, but just a few hours ago, it was filled with Georgia and Florida fans ready to see their teams go head and head in this rival game. A video is circulating online showing multiple JSO officers hitting two Florida fans during the Georgia-Florida game. The short clip shows one of the fans on the ground being hit by an officer while the other grabs another officer around his waist.
What do y'all think about that? Looks a little excessive to me, don't it? And I hate to, go there, but I think I'm going to have to. And this is not me trying to insult minorities or anybody out there, but the double standard of what I just saw, black officer beat down older white man, numerous blows to the top of the head, which can be very traumatic and very lethal for somebody his age. Now, we don't know what the guy did. We don't know what he said, the police officer. But at the beginning of it, which they didn't show, they were just hugging each other. They're just hugging up each other. So if this had been a white police officer and this had been a black gentleman, let me ask y'all honestly, what do you think would happen in this video? What do y'all think? I think it'd been a double standard. I think the fake outragers and the spineless race baiters out there would be having a field day with this. I really do. And it's a sad thing, man. Because I'm going to be honest with y'all. Racism is a bad thing. But as long as you continue to have reverse racism, it's just going to go in a circle, man. People are going to feel like they got to get revenge or something like that. And racism never ends if you don't even reverse racism, because any kind of racism is racism. A lot of people say black people can't be racist, but you can. The definition of racism is to judge someone by the color of their skin. It does not microcosm it down or say that it's only for black folks. It's for any skin color. If you judge me by my white skin color, that makes you a racist. Now, I've been told that me saying this word is probably going to hurt my algorithm, but I'm sorry, I don't know how other way to describe it. I mean, I'm not the vocabulary whiz that some other people are, I guess. All right. Tim Gillespie's in the house. He says, I think Gabriel would have regretted staying with the line we had this year. He wouldn't have looked great either. I've heard that excuse numerous times, Tim. I don't know if I completely buy it. Usually me and you agree on everything, but I don't actually agree with that. I think that Dylan Gabriel would know how to get out of certain situations a lot quicker, only because he's had more repetition. He's more experienced than Jackson Arnold. He may not have had the year he's having at Oregon right now. That is true. But I think Oklahoma absolutely would have won a few more games. I think y'all would have absolutely had a chance to beat Tennessee, for example. Y'all probably would have been a lot more competitive in the Texas game had Dylan Gabriel been playing as opposed to Jackson Arnold and the other guy who I can't remember his name right now. Sigma says the straight white male is the most hated man in America. If y'all don't mind, jump out, smash the like button, and then if you can, share it out to your friends as well. Smash that like button, gets the algorithm to pushing. And even if I'm here talking about shit that they've been shadow banning me, a lot of my live streams have not been shared out with everybody like they should have been. So if y'all will share me out to a few people so we can get around this unfair censorship that they like to do from time to time. See what we got here. I'm going to go ahead and share this out to some people real quick to try to get some people up in here. Yeah. But yeah, y'all share this out real quick. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share it out to a few more people real quick. Maybe we can get some more folks up in here so we can continue to talk and maybe grill some people. Talk about the hot seat. Looks like Lincoln Riley, like I said before, may be getting fired before Brent Venables. And the only one that was saying that was us, the Outlaw Posse. That's why I'm patting myself on the back. Damn right I am. Let's get in here. That's right. There we go. All right. The city would burn, allegedly, says Larry Trowicki. Yeah. You remember the Governor Tim Walz's wife was saying something about how she liked the smell of burnt tires when they were burning down the city of Minneapolis. And that's who Kamala Harris chose. But I won't get into all that. Tatted Sailor's in the house as well. He has his badge. He's deputized as well as Tim Gillespie and Sigma. They're all deputized. They got their badges. Us common folks are here, says Tatted Sailor. Sigma says straight white males are the most hated man in America. Like I said, man, I don't care what color you are. I actually wish everybody was colorblind. That way we wouldn't see color. But of course, they'd probably find something else to be prejudiced about. Maybe your nose was bigger than everybody else's. It's always going to be something to be prejudiced about, seems like. Big Alabama's in the house. If people don't believe in reverse racism, they should visit the Alabama State Prison. Exactly. Dabo and Tebow go down. Yes, they do. I know you don't like Dabo, but I thought Dabo was turning around a little bit. I'd like to see Dabo succeed, much to the chagrin of Killer Breeze. Big Rhino's in the house with a big fist bump as always. He's always up in here supporting our channel in various ways and reasoning. But let's go ahead and pull up a little something here that really make y'all happy. Well, where'd it go? There it is. All right. Now, this is a guy that I think should be on the hot seat, not because of wins and losses, but just because of his general nature and mannerisms and the fact that he seemed like one shady bastard, and that being James Franklin. This is James Franklin after the game against Ohio State. Instead of going to the locker room, he's busy arguing with fans about how he cannot win the big games.
So you're gonna be man enough to call it. What's your name?
Dane, Dane, get your ass back there, Franklin, James, Jamie, whatever your name is.
So you're gonna be man enough to call it. What's your name?
What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? I'm gonna take your name. I'm gonna tell Penn State administration to ban you from the damn football stadium because you have a different opinion than me. And that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with people today. What's your name? What's your name? Why does James Franklin want this guy's name? What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? What you gonna do, James, if he tells you his name? You gonna ban him from the stadium? Even worse, you gonna stalk the guy? Why did James Franklin need the name of a random fan that was heckling him? Why would he need his name? He asked him 3 or 4 times. What's it matter, James? What's it matter what the man's name is? It shows me, and just like they tried to ask him about the Penn State players that are being implicated in rape, and he just walks away from the mic. The guy's a shady bastard, and I don't care how many games he wins. It's just like Time Deion Sanders. I don't care if he wins 8 or 9 games this year in a weak-ass Big 12. He's still, to me, a piece of trash as a human being, just like James Franklin's a piece of trash. Brian Kelly is a piece of trash. Brian Kelly wins games, but he's shady, and he's underhanded. Just because someone wins a lot of games at a sport doesn't make them a good human being. So quit excusing the shit. Furnace Paradox is in the house. Assistant Coach Walls has won the prestigious Jerry Sandusky Award. That's right. Tell him what he's won, Furnace. Tell him what he's won. The Jerry Sandusky Award. Oh, Shower Hour. Tim Walls. Shower Hour at the Second Mile Foundation with Jerry Sandusky. That would not surprise me in the least, Furnace. That's a pretty good one, Furnace. I'll have to remember that. Power out, sitting in the dark, poo. Well, damn. They turned your power off, man? What'd you do, man? Did you question somebody? Sigma says Franklin is a clown. He sure is. When I see James, man, I just hear this song, man. It's like the circus ass clowns. James Franklin, come on down. You're another ass clown. No clue why I don't have power. Well, you know, sometimes you don't pay your bill, man. Kelly is a crybaby. Yeah, he is. And he sure enough likes to try to talk like he's from down here. You hear? Y'all come on back now. You hear? Y'all commit to LSU. James, or not James, Brian, because y'all a bunch of peas in the effed up pod. Brian, just a note here, buddy, that you might want to take in the future. You need to really investigate the geographical region that you're in before you start that crap with the accents. Because the Cajun accent don't sound like a Southern accent, bud. Just don't. And you're in Cajun country down there in Louisiana. They don't have Southern accents down there. They have Cajun accents, jackass. Snail's World says racism is why Ty Simpson isn't the starter. Remember, the team wouldn't play for anyone else at the USF game last year. Hey, y'all don't get mad at me for saying it. Snail's World said it. But a lot of people actually feel exactly like Snail's World. it's hard now for me to root for Alabama knowing that there's a group called the Cancer 5 or the Cancer 7 that basically have dictated to the University of Alabama and their new coaching staff that if for some reason Jalen Milroe finds himself on the bench other than for injury, then they're going to lay down. Most notably Malachi Moore, who, you know, had a epileptic spastic fit out there on the damn field, and he's not even epileptic. Then he tried to portray himself as an Ecuadorian soccer player when he kicked the damn ball for no apparent reason other than to pitch a fit, and he's supposedly a fifth-year senior. Yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from, Snell. CA accent. That's right. James never wins big games, says the Rhino 26, which is absolutely true. Sigma says straight white male, no man most hate America. Already seen that one from Sigma. Sigma says Kelly changes his accent more than Kamala Harris. Damn. That's a lot. That's a hell of a lot. Damn, Sigma. You went straight low blow, didn't you? Damn, man, you got O'Brien bent over there, man. Damn, that's got to hurt. Kamala's an Indian, right? Can't remember what she is. It's a damn mystery, ain't it? Damn mystery. All right, let's see what else we got for y'all. Tickle y'all's fancy up in here. Now that we done seen the viral video of the Florida Jacksonville Sheriff's deputy beating down a 60-year-old man in the back of the head, and James Franklin losing his bowels on his own fan base, let's see what they have to say about y'all's favorite boy, the favorite forgotten son from Oklahoma. Old Linky boy. He's not really from Oklahoma. Where is he from? He's from, y'all say he's from someplace like Muleshoe, Texas or somewhere like that, or Lubbock or somewhere. Let's see what we got here. Here it is.
You look around the country, USC's 4-5. USC's 4-5. You start looking at these coaches that came in this last big cycle and where they are at their program.
Matt, I know I'm getting off base here. Let me save the people at Southern Cal another year or two of anguish. Have a meeting, come to a conclusion that it was a good run for 1 year, but the last two have been a disaster, and give Lincoln Riley his walking papers. There's no reason to think this is going to work, is it?
I mean, year 3, they're 4-5. They lost a Pac-12 game yesterday to Washington.
Matt Berry. I like this show a little bit, but they say retarded, asinine shit all the time. Uneducated, just uneducated crap. Matt, the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, I know Oregon State and Washington State are putting on this facade like the Pac-12 still exists, and they got 8 other drop-dead Fred universities out there, and maybe the Pac-12's got a bunch of Casper universities playing, or some ghost out there, some ghost teams. But the Pac-12 don't exist, Matt. They didn't just lose a Pac-12 game. They lost a Big Ten game, you jackass. But anyway, just wanted to needle Matt real quick.
Who's in year 1 with Jed Fish, whose entire roster is gone.
No, it's. I mean, I've been hard on Lincoln before the season. He did have that big win over LSU, so everybody came at me and say you're wrong. It was a good win, and since then, almost nothing else to show for it. Even losing to James Franklin at home. I mean, that's now pretty embarrassing, isn't it?
Well, now losing to James Franklin, that's pretty embarrassing now, huh? Even though James only lost 1 game. Paul Feinbaum said some stupid shit too. Penn State's only lost 1 game, Paul Feinbaum. Now, I would be embarrassed losing to him just because James Franklin is a general dung. He's just a big old pile of bat dookie doo to me. I mean, just me personally. That's just my opinion. Want to get the OCF riled up, don't mention squirrels. Yeah, I was going to do that on this show, but I decided not to. About Peanut the squirrel, who we all know was a rescue animal for a family in New York, and the federal government went in there and raided their home, made them sit outside 5 hours of their own home while they raided the home looking for other squirrels. And they took a squirrel and a raccoon, and then they put them down. They saved them because there were so many complaints about them having wild animals in their home. And what did y'all do with them? Y'all didn't save them. Y'all got them put down. The people that complain, y'all a bunch of spineless bastards too. I'm just saying. I mean, that's what the Kamala regime is all about. And yes, it's the Kamala regime because she's really been the president the last 4 years, not Joe Biden. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, but I'm just stating the truth. And that's what they waste their money on. That's what our federal government was. It was easy with the feds now. This wasn't the New York State Police or anything. These were the federal government agents. They went in there, raided these people's home in front of his wife and his kids over some squirrels. You got people in North Carolina dying without homes, starving, and yet you still got billions of dollars going over to some foreign country that broke a deal with Russia. It's on them, really. But we can't help our own people here in the United States. Not to mention you've had third world country conditions in parts of Kentucky and West Virginia for at least 3 decades. But you're worried about that shit. That's why all you people out there that's like that, the people that are down with that shit, I wish y'all would just disappear, man. I wish the aliens would come down and zap every one of you pieces of shit. Just saying. Because, you know, if they could do it to us, they would. You started this NIL commission. It's your fault. If they could, like I told the NIL commission earlier, they'd take all of us and put us on a big-ass Titanic, send us out to sea, and then sink us 500 miles off the coast of Iceland. If they could get rid of all of us people that actually have a moral compass, they would do so. Turd Ferguson, the best damn name in YouTube history. Turd Ferguson says they jailed an 81-year-old farmer recently for breeding mountain goats. Well, that's bad. Damn, Turd, I didn't know all that. Shit. See, I got my phone blowing up over here. See, they already after me, man. I'm getting threats over here now. Watch the Mark Rober squirrel maze videos. They're funny as hell, says Daniel Looney. Okay. I'm not really getting that, but yeah. All right, let's go ahead and let's talk about college football players. But before I get to that, on a scale of 1 to 10, without your Oklahoma bias, and there's some Oklahoma people in here, what do you think Lincoln Riley's chances are of getting fired this year? And what's your chances of him getting fired before Brent Venables? I think they're pretty good. The thing is, they got a hell of a buyout. I think it's like $88 million. I think after this year it comes down to maybe $74 million or something. Still, man, $74 million. I think USC, I think the Skittle shitters may be stuck with him another season. They better just get used to watching transgender volleyball down in Santa Barbara or something, man. That's maybe the most entertaining thing they got coming forward for the next couple of years. Now, I have heard rumors that Pete Carroll may be interested in coming back, that a lot of USC fans want Pete Carroll to come back. But I got a news flash for y'all. This ain't Pete Carroll's USC from back in the early 2000s. While he was cheap Pete then, he may not be considered such a cheap Pete these days. That is true. But the man is 72 years old. I think he's 73 actually now. He's a little too old to come in and take over and get this thing crunked back up for USC. So if y'all do that, I absolutely think y'all will probably fail worse than you're already failing. Start new, go out and get somebody that's got a bit of a moral compass and somebody that you can trust long term. That's all I can tell you. I mean, do y'all have any candidates outside of Pete Carroll that USC could go after? Who do y'all think? And, of course, there's also the rumors, because I've seen the top 10. There is rumors that Brent Venables could be fired if he goes 5-7 this year. Tebow won't get fired this year, says Killer Breeze. I believe you might be right just because of the buyout. The Rhino 26 in the house. Once again, Lincoln ain't going nowhere. BV would get canned before Lincoln, and I hate saying that. Money, all it's about, unfortunately. That is true. Is Rhino's, as I said, and Rhino's alluding to, it's an $88 million buyout. I think it comes down to $74-75 million after this season or after next season. Maybe still $88 million this year. Oklahoma's buyout is only $44 million after this year. So Oklahoma would be more inclined to be able to buy out Brent Venables quicker than USC could. But I'm sort of torn on this. In a way, I can see the pain of the Oklahoma fans out there that think that Oklahoma needs to move on from Brent Venables if he goes 5-7. But I also see that there's a lot of extenuating circumstances, that go along with Brent Venables and his hire at Oklahoma. First of all, there's been a ton of injuries this year, just like Billy Napier at Florida. I think Billy Napier should get another year. I mean, he competed with Georgia to the very end with a bunch of third stringers. Billy Napier is a good coach. He's just in a tough situation at Florida. But Brent Venables had to do something that no other first-year coach has ever had to do in the history of college football. Number one, he comes in where the transfer portal has become wide open. You no longer have to set out a year. So the former coach was able to completely raid his team for whatever he wanted and take a lot of his skill position players away from him. And then on top of that, like I said, you've got the introduction of NIL and transfer portal, which is at that time relatively new to just about everybody, including seasoned coaches like Nick Saban. And Brent Venables is coming in his first year and having to deal with his team being rated, having to learn the NIL and the transfer portal on the fly as a first-year coach. And then, of course, you have to go into a brand new conference within 2 or 3 years. Oklahoma and Texas may have been better served staying in the Big 12 to 2025, but that's another topic for another day. But all of those factors, man, and that third last factor, having to go into another conference on top of those two factors that I just mentioned, no other coach had to deal with that. And then this year, got a bunch of injuries. So I think that Brent Venables probably deserves, I know a lot of people say he deserves at least one more year. Probably he deserves 2 more years with the kind of stuff that he had to endure as a first-year head coach that no other first-year head coach had to endure except those that were hired in the year that he was hired. And a lot of those guys weren't at blue blood institutions like Oklahoma. So the Duck Knight says, I hope USC keeps losing so Oregon can steal their players. Zach Branch would be a perfect fit, a perfect replacement for Tez. Yeah, it don't matter. I mean, Oregon's going to go into California and get what the hell they want whenever they want anyway. Lincoln Riley saying he was going to build a ball around that place was pretty much a good chuckle from the beginning. I mean, as soon as he said it, I could hear a profound snicker from up north in Eugene because they've been going down there for the last decade, maybe last 15 years, maybe even 20, taking what they want. And usually if it comes down to Oregon or USC and a recruitment or a recruit's decision on signing day, he's picking Oregon I haven't seen one top 5 that a recruit has put up where Oregon and USC were his last 2 spots, his last 2 candidates, and he chose USC over Oregon. Show me where show me somebody that actually chose USC over Oregon. I haven't seen it in the last 10 or 15 years. I'm just saying. And that's why it might be Oregon's time. Just like in the the early 80s to late 1980s, the Miami Hurricanes were a program that were on the verge of getting axed. In the 1970s, the University of Miami was talking about ending their football program. Then Howard Schnellenberger come in and won a national championship, beating Nebraska and Tom Osborne on an epic game. They ended up 31-30. Tom Osborne, to his credit, went for the win instead of the tie. And the rest is history. Miami's won 5 or 6, I think it's 5. They've won 5 national championships under 3 different head coaches. Howard Schnellenberger, Jimmy Johnson, and Butch Davis. Or Dennis Erickson, my bad. 4 coaches. So Miami had never been heard of as far as a national player and at the national championship table until the 1980s. Oregon seems like they're going right along that kind of mold, the Miami mold of the 1980s, except their players aren't as disrespectful as some of those players were. If Oregon were to break through and win a national title this year, I think it could open the floodgates. And you could probably see Oregon win at least 2 or 3 national championships if they can just break through and get that first one. And then Oregon will be talked about as being a part of the national championship big boy table and maybe even possibly being a blue blood maybe 10 or 15 years down the road. What do y'all think? Turd Ferguson says he thinks Brent gets another year, but next year will be a tight rope. So we've talked about James Franklin possibly being on the hot seat because of his antics. We talked about Lincoln Riley, Brent Venables. Who else do y'all think could be in trouble of losing their job this year? I know a lot of people think Billy Napier's a done deal, that he's going to lose his job, but I think he deserves another year too. People talking about he's going to go after Lane Kiffin. Well, Lane Kiffin's got Ole Miss back on the right track, and it looks like Ole Miss may actually make it into the playoffs after their loss to LSU. Speaking of which, LSU and Alabama this week. What do y'all think about that game? I heard from one of my boys, Big Coney's Kelly, that might have a hurricane coming up on the coast here going towards Louisiana. I hope not. That game might end up getting canceled. My thing is that even if it's just a remote chance of there being any kind of bad weather, I think Brian Kelly is going to try to take the easy way out. I know that pisses off the LSU fans when I talk bad about Brian as their coach, but let me reinforce what I've said numerous times. I like LSU. A lot of my Alabama cohorts don't like LSU, but I like LSU. I've went down there to the Independence Bowl numerous times when Alabama sucked, and I was always treated really well by LSU people who were tailgating outside the stadium. So I've never had any problems with LSU people. I've never been to Baton Rouge for a game, so that might be why I don't dislike them as much as some Alabama people. Because if they're as bad as the people in Knoxville, then I can see why people don't like LSU. But me personally, I like LSU. They could probably be a powerhouse blue blood if they hadn't had all these problems with coaches, because they've won national championships 3 times this century, only second behind Alabama. So if they could just get a good coach in there that doesn't lose his noodle and end up doing bad moralistic shit, LSU could absolutely be in the conversation of being a blue blood. But Alabama's actually favored in the game this week, which don't really mean shit. But this is a big, important game for Brian Kelly. Alabama and Kalen DeBoer, they're still in their honeymoon stages. He can probably afford one more loss. And if he loses 4 or 5 games this year, he's going to be walking a tightrope next year. Just steal a word from one of our previous commenters. But what do y'all think about Alabama LSU this week? I think it's an elimination game of sorts. It's sort of like having the playoffs within the regular season. A lot of people worried that the regular season be hurt by the playoffs, but it looks like it's actually helping. Alabama and LSU, to me, is an eliminator game. If Alabama beats LSU, they'll have an inside track to maybe slipping back into the playoffs. And speaking of that, we're going to bring that up right now. We have the projections out by Jerry Palm, and I'll bring that up for you guys right now. Big Cojones Kelly says, no, my educated guess is worst case scenario is the LSU versus Alabama gets postponed until Monday. Well, now, I hope so. I hope they don't cancel the game because that'll throw a big old wrench into the playoff picture. It would probably hurt both Alabama and LSU, which in return would hurt the SEC as a whole because we would probably lose a team to get in the playoffs. We go from having 4 teams in to maybe just 3 if that game doesn't get played. No cojones, Kelly. Larry Trowicki says that Matt Rule on your hot seat. No, I don't think so. I think Matt, Dylan Raiola is a true freshman. I think you give them another season or 2, at least I think 2 seasons before you make a judgment call, unless Matt comes in next year and goes Scott Frost and loses about 8 games. But I think for now, Matt Rule is safe. What do you think, Larry? Are you ready to get rid of Matt Rule? What do y'all think about Matt Rule out there? All right. If y'all don't mind, jump out, smash the like button. Also, if you want to get your comment read out, I can't see everybody's comments. There's a little money dollar sign at the bottom with a little circle or a square around it, depending upon what phone service you use, I guess. Down at the bottom, click on that, write your comment out, then hit send so you get your money's worth. It'll push your comment to the top and it'll highlight it, and I'll answer your comment above everybody else's for a small donation to the program. Help keep the lights on, that kind of deal. Also, you can join the Outlaw Posse, like you see numerous people in here with their badges. No Cojones Kelly, Big Killer Breeze, Sigma, Denizen, all up in here. Denizen says Tebow thought he was much smarter than he really is. Yeah, I agree with that completely, Denizen. All right. Bowl projections for the Outlaw Posse. Let's look at the big graph up here. Then I'm going to go over something with y'all that I think is pretty idiotic. Here it is. According to Jerry Palm, the top 4 seeds right now would be Georgia, Iowa. Well, let's go 1 to 4. Georgia, number 1. Ohio State, number 2. Iowa State, number 4. And Miami, number 3. So Iowa State gets a 4 seed because they're a Big 12 champion. And that's why I said before the season started that the automatic seeds, not top 4 seeds, should not go to conference champions. It should go to the best 4. Period. That's the way they do it in the NCAA basketball tournament. It's been out there in front of y'all for decades on how to get this shit done. All you got to do is look at the NCAA March Madness and how big of a success it has been. Granted, you don't want 64 teams or 68 teams, but they're going to end up going to 16 eventually because these top 4 seeds don't really get a reward for being a top 4 seed because the people in the first round, 5 through 8, get a home game. They get a campus game, and then they get 2 weeks off. So what's the use of having a bye, man? Who wants a 3-week bye? That's crazy, man. It's crazy. But, yeah, at 8-9 seed is Penn State versus Alabama. They'll be in Happy Valley. That's not a good look for Penn State. They have probably a lot of bad traumatic memories of Alabama and Penn State. You know, they played a 10-year deal back in the 1980s up until the early 90s, and then they replayed each other there towards the end of Joe Paterno's tenure in the early 2000 teens. Alabama got the best of them. I think we're like 11-5 against them or something. Could be wrong about that. The 7-10 game they're saying would be BYU versus Notre Dame. It'd be the Catholics versus the Mormons. That'd be interesting in itself. Notre Dame would have to go to BYU. Texas versus Tennessee in the battle of the SEC teams that didn't play each other. The battle of the UTs. In a 6-11 game, it would be Tennessee traveling to Austin. And then, of course, Oregon versus Boise State in a rematch of a game that was very close earlier this year. Oregon barely won that game 37-34. So basically what he's saying here is that Iowa State will win the Big 12, even though they lost this past week. He thinks they're still the best team, and they will beat BYU in a Big 12 title game. My problem with that, and also, obviously, he thinks that Ohio State will beat Oregon in a rematch in the Big 10 championship game. I'm not so sure about that. Dylan Gabriel looks like he's getting better and better instead of digressing any. As you go down here, as you can see, here's the problem I have. Let me see, make sure I ain't got no good comments in here first before I go into this. Can Texas Tech upset Time in Colorado? I hope so. I really hope so, Trewicki. I wish Time all the failure that can become a coach. Him and his son, Saka Zulu Sanders. Iowa State lost, so there's that. ACC gets one team, says how good the ACC is. Yeah, they lost, but he's saying that Iowa State will recover from that loss and beat BYU in the Big 12 championship game. My problem with that is, does the Big 12 deserve to have two people? Do they deserve to have two teams in? If Iowa State beats BYU, do they deserve to still have two teams in? I don't think they do. Appalachia Africa Twins in the house. He's also a big donor to the program, just like Rhino 26. And he says BYU will be outright and title game winner for Big 12. I agree with that. The only way the Big 12 does get two in is just like this scenario that Jared Palm has put out before. So if Iowa State beats BYU and they both got one loss, they may put two Big 12 teams in there just to show that they're not showing bias towards the Big 10 and the SEC. The thing is with his projections is he's got 4 SEC schools and only 2 Big 10. I don't think that's going to set too well with the Big 10 because they sort of fancy themselves as being on the same level as the SEC, which we know is not really true. All right, here's the problem I have with this. Look at the dates on these. December 20th and 21st will be the games. The games will be played on campus. Then you get 10 to 11 days off before you have to go and play in the Elite Eight at that point against one of the top 4 seeds. What? So why is it a reward to be a top 4 seed if the opponent that you're going to play gets 2 weeks off before they play you? Your reward is to get 3 weeks of buys. You basically get a 3-week buy. And some teams longer than that probably. But 3-week buy, that don't sound like a reward. That sounds like my team's going to get rusty and this team's going to be done played and not have as much rust. Plus, I don't think they can practice it during some of these times, can they? Maybe they can. I don't know. But a 3-week buy is your reward for being one of the best 4 teams? That don't sound like a reward. That sounds like a punishment to me. That's too long, man. Then after they play the semifinal game, they wait another 8 to 9 days, which ain't too bad, but still 9 days before you play the Cotton Bowl semifinal game. And then after that, after the semifinal game, they wait another 10 days. Do y'all not see how stupid that is? That to me is just reeks of idiocy. Yeah, I know they're probably trying to play it around the NFL. But, man, to hell with that, man. You're going to end up competing with the NFL eventually. So you might as well just go ahead and get it off and rip the Band-Aid off and go head-to-head with the NFL, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Or you can play some of these playoff games. The NFL games are being played on Saturday and Sunday. You can play them on Thursday and Friday. Just play Thursday, Friday games so you don't have to go head-to-head with the NFL, man. Y'all play Thursday games and Friday games anyway. So if you don't want to compete with the NFL, just play Thursday, Friday games and stop with all these 10 to 14-day breaks, man. And the top 4 gets a 3-week break. That makes no sense to me. It all, 0 sense. Matt will be fine. He'll make Nebraska a force again, says Michael McCullough. But that is the college football projections. What do y'all think about those projections? Go over them again. Georgia, number 1 seed. I don't buy that either. Georgia don't look like the number 1 team to me. I don't think anybody looks like the number 1 team, to be honest with you. Right now, Oregon does look like the number 1 team, but not by much. It's like the parity that people have been seeking. It's here. 2 seed, Ohio State. 3 seed, Miami and Florida. Not really sold on Miami yet either, even though they're undefeated. They've looked very suspect in a lot of games this year. Number 4 seeds, Iowa State. All right, so let's go back up here to the big graph. So the winner of the 8-9 Alabama game will play Georgia. I'm sure Georgia's not happy about that shit. If I'm Georgia, I don't want the 1 seed because Georgia has an Alabama problem. The longer Georgia can go without playing Alabama, the better. Just saying, if Georgia don't want to be the first number 1 seed in the 12-team tournament to take a loss from the 9 seed, if I'm them, I'm hoping Alabama's seeded somewhere else. Maybe they seed Alabama number 10 and send Alabama to BYU. That'd be the best bet for Georgia. Either that or switch places with Ohio State or Oregon. So the 5-12 seed would end up playing Iowa State. That's a big advantage for whoever the 5-12 is. If they have to play the Big 12 champion, that might be an advantage for the 5 or 12 seed to make it into the Final Four. Notre Dame and BYU, they got them playing Ohio State. Whoever wins that game, that'd be an interesting matchup. Notre Dame and Ohio State or BYU and Ohio State. Either one. Tennessee and Texas winner versus Miami. Once again, the ACC looks like trash. So whoever the 6 and 11 seeds are may have an easier road to the Final Four. You could see a couple of top 4 seeds lose rather early. Just saying. And that's why they're going to go to 16 teams eventually, in my opinion, because these top 4 seeds are not going to want a 3-week bye as their reward. Their reward would be having a 16 seed come play them at home so they can get an economic boom from that. If Georgia were to say to play, who's the 16th ranked team right now? I don't know. Who's ranked 16th? Do y'all know? Who would be ranked 16th right about now? Maybe LSU. Georgia playing LSU in a game, or if Ohio State was number 1 seed playing LSU in a first-round game in Columbus, you don't think that'd be an economic boom for them as opposed to a 3-week bye? Or for me, I drive Uber here in Tuscaloosa, and it's dead during the Christmas holidays for the businesses here because the students are gone. If Alabama were to have a home game here during the Christmas break, it would keep the students here and help the economy. So these 3-week buys and 10-week buys are really not a good thing financially or for the teams involved, in my opinion. Just draws the season out way too long. Firmus Paradox says you're going to see playoff players opt out. Yep. When that happens, the college football games went to shit. Just saying. What could happen, though, is the NFL could put out an unwritten rule saying that if you dip out on your team or you show that you're laying down, that's going to go against you in your contract or how we see you in the draft as far as laying down on your team. Football, people deserve to get paid more in football because they take a lot more horrific injuries than other sports, to me, personally. But it's a little much now. It's getting a little too much as far as how much these players are getting paid. in my opinion. They went from not getting paid at all to getting paid way too much and not having any stipulations or contracts to follow. That's an unrealistic view of life that is being given to these young men in college, that they can just up and leave whenever they want to without sticking to a contract or a deal or just their word in general. I'd rather skip the SEC championship game and be a 5 to 8 seed, says No Cohen's Kelly. I actually agree with that. I completely agree with that. But that's all I got today for y'all. Anything else y'all want to talk about before we get up out of here? I'll be glad to expound on anything you want to talk about. Just, hit the comment thing down there, a little money dollar sign if you want to. Maybe throw a few dollars in the coffers, give us a nice little donation to the show, help me keep the lights on around here. It'll push your comment to the top. Or you can join the Outlaw Posse. As I said before, it's not $2.99 a month. That's just 75 cents a week. It's a little join button, next subscribe button. You get your badge. You'll be deputized. You get a random Four Horsemen shout out on the actual podcast, as well as possibly be the comment of the day. I'm not out yet, Sigma. I need to ask y'all something. Georgia and Ole Miss. Georgia and Ole Miss played this week. Georgia hasn't looked really well to me all year. They've had some very helter-skelter moments. They looked really good against Texas, but Texas hadn't really played anybody that was on their game. Oklahoma is having issues. They got a big name, but Oklahoma's having issues this year. Michigan's having issues. Texas finally plays a team with that's decent, and they lose big time. So it wouldn't surprise me if Texas loses another game. Georgia could lose another game, maybe even two. Georgia plays Ole Miss this week in Oxford. Definitely could lose that game, even though Kentucky went and won there. That's the SEC's crazy as hell like that. And then they play Tennessee. So Georgia could lose 3 games this year still. Easily. So let me ask you this. If Georgia loses those 2 games, is a 3-loss Georgia team are they still going to be considered for the playoffs? I don't think they will be. But a lot of people think that Georgia should get in even with 3 losses. What do y'all think? And then we have, who else is it? Oh, yeah. Oklahoma and Missouri play this week for the Oklahoma people out there. Missouri been running their mouth this whole offseason. Now they're looking a little worse for wear. They've lost a lot of players to injuries, just like Oklahoma. This game against Missouri may be the game that can get Oklahoma bowl eligible. Now, I know that's not what y'all's goals were to begin the season, but to get bowl eligible with this schedule and the amount of injuries that you've had is a big win. Plus, you get the extra practice time and stuff like that benefits you by going to a bowl game. Oklahoma versus Missouri is a big game for Brent Venables going forward. If he can beat Missouri, and Missouri looks like they're really in a very good position to lose to Oklahoma at this point. I think that game's in Columbia, right? That might be the only saving grace. If Oklahoma beats Missouri, Oklahoma will become bowl eligible. That would be big. If Oklahoma can make it to a bowl, whether it be the Independence Bowl or the Weed Eater Bowl or the Bahamas Bowl, whatever bowl you go to, that's extra practice time for your players. Who else we got on the schedule that y'all want to talk about? They put these stupid commercials all the time. Miami plays at Georgia Tech. West Virginia is at Cincinnati. Purdue at Ohio State. Duke at NC State. Iowa State at Kansas. Would not surprise me if Iowa State loses that game. Kansas, while they've lost a lot of games this year, they're really not a bad team, to be honest with you. South Carolina at Vanderbilt. That's a big game. Mississippi State at Tennessee. Florida State at Notre Dame. Oklahoma at Missouri. BYU at Utah. Those are all some of the big games this week. Sigma says that Oklahoma will beat Missouri 3-0. I'm sure that Oklahoma will take 2-0. Who knows? They might get 2 safeties. Missouri might get a safety too. Might have our first 42 game in college football history. What do you think, Sigma? Give me y'all's prediction on the Alabama LSU game too. I didn't see any predictions in there from maybe Firmus and Sigma. What do y'all think is going to happen in Baton Rouge? Do you think the Cancer Five can put their selfish wants and desires behind them and finally get their shit together on the road and Alabama come together as a team and win as a team on the road this year? What do y'all think? Heard Ferguson wants to go to the Bahama Bowl. All right. It's been real and it's been fun. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.